Recording, and I mean, I guess we can start.
In there like swimwear. What's going on, Mr. Bazan? How's it been, man?
It's been pretty hectic. Well, I don't want to say hectic, but it's just been like just busy, just trying to make sure we have everything up and running with the podcast. So making right now, I'm looking at the audio volumes, making sure that we're good. Cameras are rolling. I know we've been this is episode 4, and we're trying to incorporate video and along with the audio aspect. So just been kind of nerve-wracking, just making sure we get everything right. But I think this one's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, I think going forward, man, I think we're learning a little bit each time. It's been wild. I mean, I love to be honest about it and say how it's real trippy that our very first one was like kind of came out the cleanest with very little issues, and then we kind of had some stumbles after that. But it's like, man, it's just a process. It's just going through it and seeing it. But yeah, and even asking you with how you've been and stuff, hectic was the exact same word that came to mind too. I just think about everything you got going on and how much stuff you're balancing all at one time. That was exactly my thoughts also. But let's just get into things a little bit too, if that's cool with you. We'll rock with right off the bat. Me and you know each other very well, but a lot of people have no idea who you are. Even people in your industry and in your business, as we talked about lately, don't know who you are because you've kind of stayed behind the camera and haven't put your face out there as much or branded yourself strongly based around your image, just more so with your work and the production and stuff that you've put out. So give everybody an idea of who you are, where you come from, and what you're into and what your expertise is now.
So my name is Luis Bazan. I'm a cinematographer. I shoot videos. I love creating. I identify myself as a cinematographer, but mostly I just love to create. So I like to draw, take photographs, do graphics. I mean, pretty much anything related to art. I just love creating. I guess a better term probably would be an artist.
Yeah, definitely a content creator is, I think, a real good one for you for sure.
So I, mainly do video. I shoot a lot of music videos. I film weddings, commercials, birthday parties, events. Pretty much anything on the video side, photos. I make it happen. So
yeah, for sure. Give people an idea where you come from, man, and stuff, and where you grew up, and kind of the way you've bounced around from back home in Puerto Rico to here and things like that.
Yeah, so I've my roots are Puerto Rican. I grew up in Puerto Rico. I spent a lot of my youth bouncing back and forth between Puerto Rico and Cleveland. Like right now, a lot of my family lives up in Cleveland, but a lot of it is in Puerto Rico. Graduated high school down there, and kind of, to kind of go along with the theme of the podcast. I, didn't have like the best upbringing, and kind of struggled a lot. I'm oldest of 6 children. 5 of us were from one marriage with my mom and dad, and then I have a half brother. He's the youngest one, but growing up was the oldest of 5, and helped my mom a lot. Helped my mom out a lot. As she was raising us, she's a single mother with 5 kids. One kid alone is keeps you busy enough. So now that I have my own children, I realize like all the hard work that my mom had to go through.
It's an eye opener for sure, man.
Raising us, I tell her, whenever I get a chance, I tell her like, oh damn, I can't believe how you did so much, with so little. And I could only imagine, a lot of the stuff that she was going through and a lot of things on her mind, as just to put food on the table and to try to do the best, try to provide with the best that she can with what she had. So we bounced around a lot, moving back and forth when we were younger. And when I graduated high school, I moved to Orlando. We spent some years in between that, bouncing back and forth between Ohio and Puerto Rico. Ended up in Florida. When I graduated high school, I actually got a job, an airline job in Florida, and spent a few years there. And whenever I left that airline, moved up to Ohio. By that time, my family was back in Ohio with my siblings, my mom, and everybody. So, had some stuff going on with the job, whatever, got displaced, and ended up moving back to Ohio. And it's pretty interesting how you and I met was because when I moved back to Ohio, I had this pretty cushy airline job that gave me pretty cool travel flight benefits, and so I was traveling a lot. So whenever I moved back up to Cleveland, I was missing that, being able to travel a whole lot. So started looking for work, came across this airline down in Columbus, and that's how you and I met. I was like 8-9 years ago at this point.
Sounds about right.
And kind of worked there for a few years, and that's kind of we came to know each other. And I actually got my start doing video
while you were there.
While I was there, had one of our coworkers, Darrell Burgess, Flyboy Bugsy. So some of you guys might know. Actually, kind of got me into shooting video, because at that time I used to, with the free flight benefits, I would travel a lot. Always had a camera with me, taking pictures. Just kind of, just wanted to take pictures. I was going to some pretty cool places. So, one day I was out with him. It's like, hey man, you always with that camera around. Like, hey, I rap, so let's do a video. And at that time, I never really considered doing video, but kind of got my feet wet with that. And
yeah, I mean, that's interesting even for me to hear, because I knew kind of that was at the beginning a little bit of you dabbling and getting into the video thing, but I didn't know for sure that was the first thing that really sparked you doing like a music video or going that route.
So it's pretty funny, because like before I actually did that, I had kind of had interest in starting video. This is, I'm thinking like maybe like 2012, 2013. And right around that time, like YouTube started becoming like a big thing where people were, everybody had like started building like their own little channel. I mean, it's crazy because I feel like even now, I think a lot more people are starting to gravitate towards that now, having their own personal channels and, personal branding and all of that. But
yeah, it seems so normal now.
It's a lot more normal now. And I feel a lot of people are still kind of getting into that, what's that word? They're starting to get into it a whole lot more. But around 2012, 2013, that was like the very beginning of that. And I had no experience with like video editing at all, but I had that camera. I was like, okay, at that time I actually just spent a lot of my flight benefits traveling the country and the world, going to these Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments, a trading card game. If you're not familiar with it, but I used to go to a lot of these. They would hold these tournaments all over the world, so I would use my flight benefits, and on the weekends go play and participate in these tournaments. And I wasn't like a super great player. I had a lot of my friends that played. They were like super great. They were really good. Like a lot of them would win tournaments or like place real high. But like I enjoyed doing that, and that's kind of along with traveling, that's what really got me into, taking photographs and wanting to like document, what I do and where I go.
Because you started because I was having the idea of documenting the tournaments and things like that. Right.
Because I mean, it was pretty cool. I mean, a lot of, not so much the tournaments, because I was like low key kind of, I kind of kept that
side of you under wraps.
Yeah, right. I kind of kept that under wraps.
It's one of those things that's it's got a stigma.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, like, looking back on it now, I could care less. I still have a lot of close friends.
Man, it's part of growing up.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I used to be a little embarrassed about, hey, oh yeah, I'm going to Germany to play in a card tournament. Like most of the kids that are playing are like, 17, 18 years old, but here I am, in my mid 20s or whatever, still going. But it's pretty funny because like the game has a label of a children's card game, but most of the people that play competitively are, people with disposable incomes that are a lot older.
And it's pretty comparable to Pokemon, basically, right?
Something like
pretty
that.
Similar. And at the same time, I mean, I think that's kind of the same thing for Pokemon. It's weird. I hear certain people mention it now that are older because it's been around so long now, that you see grown adults mention it or talking about it. And to me, that's like, man, it's surprising because it's like, it's always been, like you said, it's kind of something that's considered more for kids, and that of course the characters and things like that. And you see people using Halloween costumes or whatever the case is. But now to see that there's an older generation that grew up with and stuff is surprising.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because so I, kind of fast forwarding a little bit now, to present day, I shoot a lot of music videos. So a lot of the rap artists that I shoot music videos for, they're a lot younger. They're like in their late teens, early 20s, but they're like from this generation where like whole watching anime and playing games and things of that nature is it's a lot more acceptable now.
Yeah, it's more common for sure. At least it seems that way. It comes off that way on social media.
Right. So it's funny. So like I'll be shooting videos with a lot of these kids. I'm like, oh man, what you know about that? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, I used to watch this. I used to be into this way before you even knew it existed.
Yeah, when you were in elementary.
So it's pretty funny kind of seeing how that's changed now. But kind of going back to what I was saying, I was travel to these tournaments, all over the world, and started taking pictures and. While I'm there, not only playing, I would go and enjoy the sights and, just travel a whole lot. So it's pretty interesting. I feel like, looking back on it now, like that is a thing now where a lot of people, their whole living is traveling the world, documenting it, taking pictures and putting these like travel videos and doing this and that. And I feel like I was a part of that before it was even really a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it probably definitely makes you feel good that you feel like you were around and involved with it as it became what it is now, where basically what I feel like you're getting at, what you're saying is how a lot of people were doing it almost as like not even as a hobby, but just doing it because they took a trip or because they wanted to enjoy the experience or make a dope little video or clip or whatever it be from a trip. And in turn, it sparked into a hobby or a profession or a number of different angles for them to start doing something with the video and the content creating.
Right. And it's crazy because like at that time I'm just traveling. I'm just traveling and, I'm making these experiences, living these experiences. And, I want to be able to remember it. And I feel like it was a little bit at the very early stages of what is today, like traveling and vlogging and documenting like your whole like travel experiences compared to how it is today. Excuse me. Wow, I didn't realize that all these weird noises. Just to kind of give everybody a little
idea of what that was.
Insight, a little insight. This is our 4th episode and I've been behind the camera for all these podcasts, helping produce it, and it's been a journey in itself. Like just all the little nuances, making sure that everything's right, and I'm not used to being in front of the camera, so like I'm over here like bumping into things. I'm like, oh man, that's making all these noises. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, the mics pick up everything, man. It's pretty awesome.
But yeah, like so we, started doing all of that video, and kind of going back to with Darrell. Did a music video for him, and from there, did a video for Andrew Campos. I haven't talked to him in a long time. I don't know if you talked to him recently, but shot a music video for them and Trunks, and shooting videos with Trunks actually is kind of what got me really started. Continued. Developing my skills, directing music videos and shooting music videos. And
I think that was about the time that you kind of started even mentioning to me or coming at me, telling me that you were looking into things more of as far as trying to figure out how to be better and learning more about your camera and editing and things like that.
Yeah, so like when I started doing that, I started getting involved with a lot of these like, with all these different videos. I've always had a creative, growing up, I was always creating, I like to draw, kind of going back to like the whole little anime and like Pokemon and stuff. When I was younger, I would draw anime characters and different characters from like animes and stuff. And it's pretty interesting how I feel like that helped shape a lot of the creative person that I am now. Even though I don't really draw as much anymore, I still draw sometimes like for my kids, and they get amazed by saying, oh hey, can you draw so and so, draw me this, draw me that, can you draw that? And like, oh wow, like it's funny, they tell me like I should be an art teacher. And I mean, who knows how it all shakes out. Like at the end of the day, I just love creating. So
yeah, I think that says more about the fact that it was in you than it does that created that in you. I think that means that points more to the fact that creating was in you from the start. It's in your DNA because from an early age you were drawing and doing other things and real interested, probably not even knowing so young what exactly you were interested in. Back then you just kind of probably took it as an entertainment, as almost anyone would. But the fact that you maybe appreciated that much more than the average person because you had that creative eye.
Right. I mean, and like, it's funny. Like, I mean, I come from a line of creatives. My dad's, paints, draws.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's a sculptor. He does a lot of things. Is very, very, very artsy. My grandfather, I still have I've had some family members too. Like one of my uncles, he's a salsa singer. I have another uncle who plays the drums, and it's either music or creating art, whether it be painting or photography or singing. It's like in my family, like that's something that's very, very it's very common. So it literally is in me.
Oh, it is for sure, because I've even what I've heard from you about your siblings, brothers and sisters, being into music or fashion, or now your one sister that is creating decorations and things for events and parties and things like that. It's like it's definitely hardcore in the DNA.
Yeah, for sure. So it's pretty interesting how like right now my main medium is video, but it's not really limited to that per se. Like I'll create with whatever I want, with whatever I can, whatever I'm feeling, with whatever medium. But so it's like sometimes I think about like, hey, I'm doing all these video things now, and most recently I've been dabbling a lot more into drawing and creating, mainly for my kids. Like they'll ask me to like draw characters and do different things that makes me, it gets me, I start drawing again.
Gets that fire going.
Yeah, it gets that fire going again. And I'm like, okay, I want to do that. And like, there's been a few things right now that like I'm kind of planning on that side that I want to start doing. But
like what type of things? I mean, just a small glimpse, just to.
Like I kind of want to do. So when I was younger, one of my dream jobs was to be like a concept artist for like cartoons and like movies and stuff. And basically, a concept artist basically just like they would come up with like characters, different settings, and they would be like, whenever you're creating a character, like, oh hey, this guy's gonna have like this widget here on his belt that does this, or he's gonna have like a tattoo here, or wear goggles or whatever. Like I was really into that, like creating characters. So one of the things I kind of have, with the kids telling me like, oh, hey, you can, be like an art teacher. And like, I'm a terrible teacher.
Hey, you may think so, but you never know. I think I wholeheartedly believe you'll be teaching in some shape or another soon, even though you kind of are already.
Yeah. So it's, so one of the things I want to do is create some kind of like illustration book. I don't know if it'll be like specifically for kids, but I haven't really thought a whole, but basically I just want to, create like different characters and just kind of have either an illustration book or make some kind of like a short story for kids, or even illustrate a book for somebody. I mean, I really don't know, but like I definitely have been dabbling a lot more with that. And before, like I would draw like on pen and paper or, with crayons or markers, but, now with this new age of technology, a lot of stuff I do is like on the iPad. So like I have like a little stylus and I'll draw on there. So it's just something I kind of do for fun. It's funny, like I do that now with whenever I want to take a break from like video, or if I'm in the middle of editing something and I want to kind of get my creative juices flowing again, I'll just kind of start playing around with that.
I even remember you messing around with that one app that was a game where you would draw something for the other person. Yeah. I came across, I don't know what I came across the other day, but it reminded me of something, and I said something to Tony about it, about how, like, man, I think that might even been sort of kind of something that Luis and Lena kind of met on or something, maybe like doing stuff like that.
Like right around the time when we first started dating, Lena and I, we would play. It was called Draw Something.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like charades. It was kind of like, it's kind of like during that age of mobile apps, mobile games, and everybody was into that, little Facebook games and stuff where, it was kind of like charades. You would get like get a word and you would have to draw it, and then the other person would have to guess what you're drawing.
Right. It was all spun off of getting more in depth of people playing Words with Friends and all that crazy stuff. It's like a more elaborate version with a creative twist on it.
Right. It's pretty funny. Like that probably came up on like one of the old like Facebook
memories or time
memories, whatever they call it now.
Yeah, definitely.
So, kind of going back to like with the videos, I started doing a lot more music videos, and it's been about 3 years now, and the majority of my video work has been creating music videos, directing music videos, and it's kind of evolved kind of who I am right now as a creative, and it's kind of helped me really realize what it is that I want to do on the video creation side. And excuse me, I've done a lot of stuff with like fashion and sports now. Most recently, that at first I was thinking like, oh hey, like maybe I'll just be doing music videos forever. Excuse me, but it's not really the case. Like I just want to create, so I kind of whatever inspires me, whether it be like for a music video or like a fashion video, or even if it's just like a random, like a travel video or family video or whatever, like I just enjoy creating.
Yeah, and I think that's where you'll find other avenues and things that'll lead you to more things that you like doing because of them actually being your interests and things that mean something to you. I mean, it's a big part of why me and you became as tight as we have and came together in the first place, is because so many similar interests, you know what I mean, as far as we both are big into sports, a little bit of fashion here and there, but sports, family, travel, putting out the right message, random things like that, kind of same morals and stories that we grew up with and stuff. And I think all those things are now playing a factor in what you're interested in, and it's going to lead to even more opportunity for you, is what it seems.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, even with a lot of the opportunities that I have come across, up to this point, it's definitely all been a great learning experience for me, and it's like you said, it's helped me really hone in on what it is that I want to do. And I mean, even right now, like I'm not, be completely honest with you, I mean, I'm nervous as hell just talking. I mean, I've always been somebody who's never
behind the camera.
I've always been like behind the scenes. I mean, even right now, like I'm always behind the camera. I mean, even if you look on my social media, like I don't really go about like posting myself and getting in front of the camera a lot. And I feel like I don't think it's not a detriment to what I do, but I feel like in a way it kind of does hinder me. And in this age of social media, I feel
in this
like
day of age, for sure.
This age of social media, I feel like, where personal brand is kind of become the thing that is today, whether, with a lot of people with social media influencers making money, making all these like brand partnerships, a lot of it's really built off of personal brand. And I've kind of, realized that now that, hey, I may be uncomfortable with this, but it's definitely something that I feel like if I, get in front of the camera more, put my face and put myself more out there, that it'll lead to a lot more opportunities, and it'll get, and not so much doing it for the opportunities, but more so for letting people know, hey, this is me, this is who I am. And that in turn kind of just creates opportunities within itself, because you just connect with people who have similar interests or care about what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think it's also good for your character, man. I think it's also good for just developing who you are and things like that, where getting you over some of the fears or just thoughts and things that are not something that you should let ever hold you back. Because not saying that you have let it hold you back a ton, but at the same time, it's just, I know just from the way you're talking about, the way you've talked about it to me before, in some ways it does maybe make you shy away from something or a certain situation or hesitant, and sometimes maybe just even delaying it, you know what I mean? To where it's something you could just jump at once you're past that fear.
Right. I mean, and I kind of seeing where you're kind of headed with the conversation, that I feel like putting myself out there and creating more of my personal brand will definitely play a big role in the opportunities that present themselves in the future. Because like right now, I do dope music videos, fashion videos, sports videos. A lot of it I do that now, but it's always been a side hustle for me. I still have a regular job. It's been tough, and then like I feel like putting myself out there a lot more will definitely help me create those opportunities to where I can transition into full blown content creation full time.
Yeah, and there's nothing but positive that could come from you being someone that even when you're out and about or in these other situations without the camera in your hand, that someone still knows, hey, that's Luis. Right. That's Digital Matter Media. That's the guy that shot so-and-so's video. Just off seeing your face or seeing you walk by or seeing you in a room.
Right. I've noticed that. I mean, a funny story. I just recently, I was at a music video shoot, and there was a photographer there, and interacted with him on social media for a few years now, and he was out there with the rapper, with the artist, and they were he was taking photos when we were at the video shoot. Well, he was like going over the photos and talking this and that, and like there was a photo that I was in one of the pictures, and one of the guys that was there like, oh hey Digital, like hey man, like oh come check this out, this is dope. And he was like, oh like Digital, like oh, Digital Matter Media? I was like, yeah. You're like, oh, yeah, that's me. He's like, oh, bro, like, I got to know that was you, and at this time, we had been already, like, on set for, like, an hour, and we've had already exchanged words and things of that nature, and it just kind of made me realize, like, damn, like, a lot of people, that was just one person. I wonder how many others,
is a prime example,
know of me, right, they know of me and know who I am, but they don't really know who I am because I never really put myself out there, in that regard. And I feel like a lot of that's been just self-consciousness. Like I'm not, like, I don't know, I've never been real big on like public speaking. I mean, even when I was like in grade school, like I would always get like nervous. Like
I always did too, though, honestly. I mean, that's a weird thing about it is like, even for me to do this, I think a lot of people think, well, oh, he's so comfortable in the spotlight, or he must be if he's going to do something like this. Not at all. I was always somebody, even so like even you mentioned fashion and stuff like that. The only reason we have some of the connections in that is because I did a little bit of the modeling. Every moment of the first few go-arounds of me doing modeling things, and even I would say even up to almost every last performance, I guess you could call it, or where I had to walk in a fashion show or something in front of a decent sized crowd, I was nervous as can be. And I think in a lot of ways the ones I did in the past could definitely have been better, a lot better, without my nerves. And I think going forward, I just have a different mindset now. It's weird. I tell a lot of people, and I think a lot to myself, that I think having a child makes a big difference in that. It's something about it seems to just kick you with this thought of not sweating the small stuff as much anymore. But I think doing something like this and other opportunities and things I've seen and been a part of are helping with those nerves. And that's also why I say you getting on here, different things that we can do will slowly fade that away for you, I think, because I think a part of yours is not just because of self-consciousness or anything like that. I think it's also with like what you've put out and what you put on your social media platforms and stuff like that, is that you just want it to be a lot about the art and a lot about what you're doing, and you're not putting things out to be like, hey, people want to see me. People want to, I know people like, oh, I bet, let me post this selfie, or let me post me this sweet shot of me shooting this video, or this behind the scenes this or this and that. It's more like, you're like, no, I want to put out a dope picture from the video, something sweet from a nice shot that I got on this photo shoot, right. Things like that. I don't think you were always doing it purposely to hide or anything like that. Right.
And it's not, and like, it's, kind of going back to like the whole personal branding. It's, I never, there are a lot of creatives that are like that they're just about the art. But I feel like in this stage in age, you kind of have to at least show your followers and your fan base that, whoever sees your work, kind of, give them a little bit more insight to you, to yourself, and who you are. And I mean, not necessarily got to put all your business out there, but I feel like those people that come out every day and watch what you do, that like what you post or whatever, interact with you, that you build a lot stronger connections when you have a personal connection with, when people can, he does this because he loves, he cares about family, so
it's things that they can relate to.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's in this day of age where the social media world and the reality TV world is so big, and so many stars are spreading their name, and people are spreading their brand and their name in that way, in that manner. It shows me that how much a big part of it is because what I've heard and a lot of different people talk about, you had so many people that were so fake for so long, and everything that they did was for the camera or for this or for that, and no one really saw or knew what was going on in their personal lives. To nowadays, things are the total opposite, to where people, everything they do,
it's exposing that vulnerability.
They are either exposing it themselves, or they get exposed eventually by
whoever,
social media, by media, TV media, whoever, reporters, whatever the case, TMZ. So now people want real more than ever, because, and a big part of that was because when reality TV came out, it was advertised and projected to be reality, when right off the bat people started finding
fake.
out and noticing that it was fake from the
Right.
jump, and that a lot of scenes were being set up and people weren't the same people on camera as they were off and things like that. So now people love the idea of getting to know someone, getting to follow their story, knowing, like you said, what their interests are and why they have a passion for this, that, and the other, why they go the routes that they go in business because of either their family or their upbringing or things like that. And it's something that me and Zach even just talked about in the last podcast, of how we followed a story of a young guy, local Columbus guy, Sean Jones, and his story of watching him on social media come up from like middle school to maybe even grade school. He may have followed him basketball, and then now getting to see him at the high school level in a big spotlight and getting like national attention and things like that. And it gives you a really good feel of closeness to someone or a person that you follow or support that you really don't know on a personal level, but you get to a point like that. And I don't know if you have many like that, but I noticed that with people that I follow hardcore on social media, or that I listen to their podcast consistently, or I check out their social media consistently and stuff. It's weird how the ones that are the most real, you feel like if you were around them, that it would be like being around a friend or,
Right.
or being around a family member, because you feel like you know so many of their hobbies, their interests, what they're about, how they grew up,
Yeah, you feel like
their
your friends.
story. Yeah, it's like it feel, and it's not to say, and maybe people take it this way, but not even saying it in like a nerdy way, like, oh, my friends are the people that are online. It's like, no, we have real friends too, but you feel that closeness with them just on how connected we are nowadays to everyone.
Right, because I mean, I feel like nowadays, like the people that you do connect with are the people that are, like-minded, have very similar interests, and just with that alone, like, you just feel like you have this connection with them.
It's one of the nice things about social media that I've loved, that it feels like now you can choose some of the people and influences in your life, and choose the positive ones or the ones that interest you, the ones that you feel good about. Because before social media or reality TV or any of these other outlets where we get to see the real person involved in whether it be our music or movies or sports or whatever, before you kind of just had a guess or of their persona and who they really were, and you just thought like, oh man, they're probably like this. Now you really get a good idea, and it's nice to have that feeling of like, okay, not only do I like what they do in front of the camera or on the court or on the field, this and that, whatever, but I also like what they're about. And it just gives you this nice feeling of closeness, of knowing that you can relate, and being able to see that and get that feeling makes you that much more invested. Right. In the person. I think that's what draws the most attention to people, is the people. I've been noticing that more and more lately about the people that I follow, because I love realness. And I noticed like Gary Vee was a person that I latched onto so quickly right after I saw him cussing so much. And it was weird, because at first I was always a guy like, right off the bat, I would think like, oh man, that means this person's unprofessional, or right. where are they really going to go dropping F-bombs and this and that, blah, blah, blah. Even though I'm somebody that cusses on a regular basis, you know what I mean? And I keep it toned down a little bit on here, or a little bit when I'm trying to be somewhat professional, because I don't want to offend people or have somebody feeling some kind of way. But me hearing it from him, to me, there's always been a lot of talk about how there's studies that people that are like that are known to be more truthful, or when they do testing and stuff, those people are more truthful or things. But it made me right off the bat feel like, oh, this guy is real. Like, he's going to say what he wants to say regardless of what people think about it.
Right, he's just being himself.
Yeah, and then now even I consume a lot of Rogan and things like that, and it makes me, I also see with him, in a lot of his conversations, interactions, and things that he's doing, even when he's doing something that's almost like an interview style, he's really just having a conversation. He's not even necessarily, he'll throw in his interview questions or things like that, but for the most part, he's talking to one of his friends.
Yeah, I mean, now that you mentioned Rogan, like one of the things that like really that I love about him is the fact that like the range and the variety of his guests. You have like super top tier scientists and doctors, astronauts, and
doctors.
And then you
hunters,
have hunters,
sports players, fighters,
athletes. You get like I just recently seen one. MKBHD. I don't know if you're watching like any. I'm real big into like tech YouTube videos.
Oh yeah,
reviews
yeah. You talking about the black dude that was on there?
Yeah. So he's somebody that I followed for years.
What's his name again?
He's I forget his name. It's like Marquez Brownlee, but he goes by MKBHD. Yeah. But he does a lot of like tech reviews. Yeah. But he had him on there, and he's just like somebody from the tech YouTube space.
And he's just geeking out with him about
right. What amazes me is the
tech.
fact that he has these wide range of guests, and he has these conversations with people from all different walks of life.
That speaks to his intelligence, man.
Yeah, and like it's crazy because like he like just connects with everybody. He just has a conversation with whoever.
It speaks to his intelligence and his openness and his passion for life, his passion for knowledge. And that's what I've told a lot of people, like that's been one of my interests in doing something like this and getting on different people. And then now like I'm glad you brought it up too, because like we've talked about, we want to kind of branch this off into doing other styles of podcasts, not just the ones that are like this for the entrepreneurship, but we want to do a little bit of basketball stuff. We want to do a little bit of family stuff and whatever avenues that interest us or we really want to give to the people, as well as learn something for ourselves. But it's like that knowledge or that passion for knowledge, that being a fan of knowledge and things like that, it really has brought him full circle to meeting all different avenues of people. And I love that when people get on there, they know that even when they're an expert in their field, that he has done enough research or is intelligent enough or well-read enough that almost anything they speak on, he at least has a general idea what they're saying. Right.
And I think just with the little bit of experience that I've had, being present with the podcast episodes that you have done, and the podcast that I have listened to, it's really opened my eyes to the fact that this is like the perfect opportunity for you to be able to grow and learn and just absorb information, because you're just listening to these conversations and you're learning about different topics, people's interests, and it just it's kind of like the best way to learn, to be honest. I mean, myself, over the last year, I've really gotten real big into listening to podcasts, and I'm sure many people are. I mean, we're right here talking on a podcast, and it's really opened up my mind and my eyes to just a whole another area of self-development.
Definitely.
That you just learn. And like right now, you can find a just the same way that you can find a video about anything, you can find a podcast about any subject, and you listen to it and you learn about it. So like, I mean, even right now, like I listen to a wide range of podcasts, going back to, my day job, I commute about 70 miles each way every day. So I have this hour drive to and from work every day, that what I do is I consume a lot of podcasts. I mean, even throughout the day, before I used to listen to a lot of music, but for real, like maybe 6 out of the 8 hours that I'm at work, I'm listening to a podcast.
Oh, same here, man. And I love exactly what you're saying, because I mean, that's for sure my reasoning for getting this rolling. And also what I always want to let people know is that's the best part about this for me, is I'm no expert of anything, as I've said before. And what I'm really wanting to do on here is to get whatever knowledge and information I can, and as well as give it to the people that want it, that consume the podcast, whether they want to watch the video, listen to the audio, however they want to get it in. Is that by me doing that and providing for the people, I'm learning. And you saying all the things you just said just made me think about how I feel like I've learned more in podcasts over the past few years than maybe my whole school career or things like that. And it's weird because, and maybe that's stretching or reaching a little bit, but it's definitely like, I feel a lot more comfortable learning this way and picking up information this way, having, especially the podcasts that have a visual, so I can kind of gauge certain things from the people as well. But I retain the knowledge a lot better. I can be really selective of where I get it in, where I get the information coming in from, and make sure that it's coming from a reliable source. And I think a lot of those factors make you a lot more attentive and listen,
absolutely.
Pay attention to what you're hearing and soak it up. Because say you're in a classroom or wherever that you were getting knowledge before, it's like, do you really have some kind of respect for that teacher? The way they come off or the way they're presenting to you, is it in a format that you enjoy it or retain it. A number of different things. Are you tired? Is it first thing in the morning? It's like with these podcasts, you can listen to them when you want, how you want, from who you want, on the topics that you want.
Right. It's like that on demand, that it is specifically tailored to you and your interests. So, you can consume it whenever you want, like, just like you said, whenever you want, wherever you want, however you want. And, I think that allows you to retain that information a lot more. And kind of going back to like the whole teaching thing, I feel like over the last year, I've really grown as a person and learned a whole lot, just from consuming podcasts and like different videos and like different people that I follow on social media. That's really opened my eyes to, kind of going back to, getting in front of the camera and talking about, things that I want to share and talk to people. I want to be able to provide that as well to other people. If I could be a source of inspiration for somebody else, then, that's great. But I feel like a lot of podcasts have really not only helped me get through like tough times, but, really get through certain situations where just listening to them, I'm like, it just opens my mind to like a whole different perspective, and just being able to, so this is probably why I'm doing this. And I'm not sure about you, but like a lot of the podcasts that I listen to on top, there's some podcasts that I listen to that are like for entertainment, and there's some where it's like for self-help, a lot of personal development, and then you have like your business podcast where people talk about entrepreneurship. I listen to a lot of creative podcasts. So as a creative, artist, there's a lot of artists always have that stigma of like, a broke artist, right? Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the content and like a lot of the podcasts that I consume are related or they're tailored for anybody, but they're mostly tailored for the creative who, doesn't. So, the creative who doesn't want to be broke. So, a lot of them are really, they kind of tie into how you can be successful financially and be able to make a living off of creating art, and while still creating the art. So you're not like a starving artist, doing all this great art and nobody's seeing it, and you're not making any money off
it's
of
providing informational angles, a way for you to make money, or to give you an idea of how they went about things and used it to provide for themselves or open up opportunity.
Right, absolutely. And then that's kind of like why, me being right here in front of the camera, while it's uncomfortable for me, but I think it's definitely a good first step to, putting myself out there and starting to put myself in a position where I can, show people what I'm doing and ultimately be able to teach people. And like, honestly, not necessarily teach people, but I just want to share my knowledge. Like, I feel like I've been gifted. I feel like I've been gifted, with all this knowledge from like podcasts and different things that I've consumed, that I would like to share that, with whoever, with anybody.
Well, and your willingness to learn and your self-motivation, like I've told you before, has always been something in you that I've respected from the jump. And I think with you having all that, it's driven you to seek out a lot more of this information and a lot more knowledge. So a lot of the things that you've learned and things that you came across has been solely because you just wanted to know. It's not been because you had to for this job, or you had to because of this situation, or some training or this and that. It's like, this is just what you were interested in, or you kind of heard a little bit about and wanted to know more about, or you wanted to be a little bit knowledgeable about it, to be either comfortable speaking about it, or to help a friend or family member, or to help somebody that's in your lane as far as with the camera stuff, or creating content, or the music videos, or a number of different things. Go ahead.
No.
But I say all that to even get into more of what you were saying, that I was thinking about, is that's why I think you definitely should do a podcast based around your camera knowledge and stuff. And then going past that, have you thought at all about providing anything in Spanish?
I've thought about it, and honestly, that I'm not sure. I haven't really seeked out to see what that environment or that market is like, but I'm pretty sure that I don't think that it's as robust, as saturated as what you see now. That's
exactly why I
which
asked.
is pretty interesting, because a lot of the people a lot of the Spanish speaking, I guess, counterparts that are in the same industry as I am, a lot of them follow the same people that I follow. So a lot of it is in English, and I feel like, I mean, I've thought about that where, you know, going that route is totally a potential avenue to pursue that, because there's not a whole lot of that, and then not only that, like that, it just opens up the doors for, you know, more opportunity to, you know, places across the world, South America, etc. Where, you know, I grew up in Puerto Rico, and like things are a little bit different now that with social media and the whole internet, that a lot more people speak English.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, while they may not be like, you know, fully fluent or whatever, but a lot of people could like defend themselves they can buy pretty well with just the internet and, you know, TV. And that's a lot more spread out than it is now than it was when, you know, when I was in school. I remember when I was in high school, like only a handful of people like spoke English.
Right.
Like I remember being in high school in Puerto Rico where, you know, like you can count the amount of kids, you can count with your hands the kids that spoke English. And then I feel like sometimes I feel like some people would like mock me, or, you know, they would try to speak English, but they were just, you know, fooling or playing around. And it's crazy because a lot of those people that I went to high school with that did not speak English, now as adults, you know, they're either fluent in English now or speak it a whole lot more. And like even like their children speak it a lot more.
I noticed a big difference in it from when I went there the first time and the last time. So like I went there not long after I got out of high school. And when we were there, it was like one every so many people you'd come across may speak English. The last time I went, it felt like almost every person that I ran into or dealt with at a place of business or a cab ride or whatever it be, a majority of them spoke English.
Yeah, I feel like the entry level has kind of gone down a whole lot, where almost everybody, and I think a lot of that is driven from just how accessible the internet is now, and how TV and YouTube and, you know, kind of going back to like the whole learning thing. Like one of the things I tell my kids, all three of them, I have 3 kids, and they're all on YouTube, you know, God knows how many hours throughout the day watching TV and videos and stuff. And, you know, some of it is, you know, my youngest daughter likes watching kids playing with toys. You know, one likes watching like funny videos, sports videos. Cody's real big into like filet, and like I don't know if you get to filet.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But he likes those kind of videos where people doing voiceovers, or people, you know, like it's funny. Like I look back on it, and it's like a lot of kids consume YouTube nowadays is how, you know, watching America's Funniest Home Videos and things like that. That's literally what they do. You know, like them Vine videos.
Mm-hmm.
But I always tell them when they're like, sometimes they'll ask me about things, and like I'll tell them like, hey, you know that if you have an interest in this, like, you know, you can like look up YouTube videos. YouTube is not just funny videos, you know. And you know, like funny videos or people, you know, streaming video games, playing video games. Like you can literally learn about anything and about any topic. And you know, it's kind of like a little bit off topic, but I feel like it's kind of relevant to what we're talking about now, that, you know, that wanting to learn and to just find out about things. Like I've always been a person that, like, if I have something that sparks my interest, or if I hear a conversation or a topic or something that like I have an interest, like I'm the first one, like, you know, whatever, wiki, you know, and I kind of go down that rabbit hole of, you know, this and that, and watch videos and instructional videos and things like that. So if I ever, you know, with the video, sometimes I want to learn how to do, or I see something cool in a video or a music video, I'll say, well, hey, how do they do that? So I'll just go on Google and try to find, hey, you know, how do you do this? How do you do that? How can I make it happen? Oh, do you need this? Do I need that? And like I try to tell my kids that, hey, you literally have the whole world of information and knowledge at your fingertips, and, you know, you can, if you want to learn about something, you can like really learn about it. And, you know, you kind of run into the whole issue of what, you know, what's a reliable source and what isn't. But I feel like that's what we should probably be teaching kids nowadays, is to how to know what is reliable and what isn't, so, you know, they can learn. Like I mean, even now, I mean, hell, even like trying to fix a light bulb in a car, or, you know, do something in the car, like you can find a YouTube video about it.
Well, and also what you talking about, the reliable sources and stuff too, the internet's exposing that, man. That's that's one of the best parts about that, is the internet is exposing that. So you don't so much have to question or guess. It takes out a lot of the guesswork, because now if someone's a phony, if someone is just talking out their ass, if someone really doesn't have a good amount of knowledge of something, the amount of people that will call them out and try to put them on blast knocks them down pretty quickly, or labels them pretty quickly as they're a BSer, or they are just a kook or something like that. You know what I mean? Just a crazy person or someone looking for attention. So I think that's a good thing about it, and it's definitely something that even going back to, you mentioned Andrew Campos, that was the funny thing about him, is that he's one of the first people that mentioned to me. I said something about, I think one time I was having a problem with like my PlayStation not turning on, like right after high school and stuff, when I was very short period of time that I even played video games. And it was just because I was in the house like crazy trying to save money and things. But it wasn't turning on or working right or something. He's like, oh, just get on YouTube, man. Just get on YouTube. He's like, that's what I do. If something's not working right, I don't know how to do something, I just get on YouTube. And he was the first person of like just a little bit younger generation to kind of open my eyes to that. And it's also why I tell everybody, you can always learn from anyone at any time. You're never too old to learn. Always listen to what somebody kind of throws your way as a, hey, try this, or maybe this, or I do things this way, because no matter where the source is, and it's coming from someone younger than you like that or anything, it's always a chance that it's something that's really helpful to you. And since that moment, it's been like anytime I run into a bump in the road of something that I don't know how to do, or something's not working right, that's exactly where I go, oh, YouTube, how to do this, how to fix this, this problem with this certain device, you know what I mean, this problem, and fixing things around my house. I mean, even building a studio that I did down here. It's like all this I can't tell you how maybe 70% of it was stuff that I just pulled up on my phone and kept on going along, building the walls and doing what I had to do, and just all putting down floors. And I knew a little bit of it. I had learned a little bit when we first remodeled the house. But some of the stuff I kind of had drew blanks on, some of the stuff I hadn't done yet, and things like that. And it's just that it's an amazing resource that we're all blessed with now, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I attribute 95% of everything that I know video-wise and photography-wise, YouTube. I mean, I've had people like send me DMs or ask me questions like, hey, you know, like, oh, did you go to film school? Did you do that? Like, oh, your videos are amazing. Did you go to, I'm like, nah, like I went to YouTube University, you know?
Right.
But like I didn't go to any film school. And like, I feel like, you know, it's not limited to film, but like, honestly, anything that you have an interest in, like there is an expert of that topic or subject that you can learn from, and you know, it's up to you what you do with that.
Yeah, I feel like in a way it's already replacing college in a big way, and I think it definitely will in a major way. And maybe not even so much just totally replace it, as in maybe they shift towards things, and I think maybe some colleges are already doing it, but maybe having the lectures of certain professors and things like that be able to be consumed from home, and maybe they can log in and clock their time in, and then still turn in their papers or do whatever based off listening to a podcast, listening to a presentation. I listen to a ton of that guy Jordan Peterson that is a big psychologist and into philosophy and all that, and he's someone that I feel like I've consumed more information on psychology and philosophy and things like that than I for sure would have in a million years, and definitely way more than I ever did in school, or in something that I didn't even know I had that kind of interest in. But now he's somebody that is a prime example, what you're talking about. I've even mentioning to you, someone that just listened to him has helped in so many different situations and relationships and things with family and work and things like that. He talks so much about human behavior and why we do things and how to handle certain situations, and how to he has these programs and everything. He's a #1 bestseller with a few books lately about like getting your life together, and young males are flocking to his information more than ever. But it's something that everything that he's been putting out, since it's based around human behavior and things like that, it's been something that's been so beneficial for me, understanding life and understanding my family and the reason that people do things and the reason certain situations go down the way they do, and how to be better in certain conversations. And then a bunch about parenting and stuff, which you know is something that's really important to us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's pretty interesting. Like I'm curious to see how the whole education system shakes out. I mean, I know, kind of going back to when you had Josh on, he talks about he homeschools his kids, and I feel like the whole, like I know a lot of other parents who are homeschooling their kids or having or providing their kids some kind of alternative education, and like I'm curious to see how the whole college and the whole post secondary education, how does that play out in the future, because I feel like it's what we've grown up with and what we know is completely, I don't want to say it is broken to an extent. Like I feel like there is a lot of value and a lot of things that you can get from your traditional education, but I feel like I think things are going to change, and even
I think they're going to change massively.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Massively. I think a wave is going to hit similar to like how the internet hit things, how social media hit things. I think seriously it's going to hit so drastically that it's almost going to feel like overnight that we shift from what college is now or what further education past high school is now to what it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, and like me myself, like I have no college education at all.
Myself either.
It's, for a while, like I regretted it. Like I had my reasons for not doing it. A lot of it was really driven from the fact that my mom was struggling and it was something I really couldn't afford, and because of the situations that I was in, I wasn't really made aware of all the opportunities that I had for like scholarships. Like I scored pretty well like on my ACTs and all of that I probably could have gotten a scholarship to some college and been able to get a full ride somewhere. But what I was surrounding my environment didn't really allow me to know of those opportunities and explore that. But I've always been kind of what you said. I've always been somebody who yearns to learn. That I've never had a problem with like learning something. I mean, even like all the jobs that I've had, I always get I feel like I've been bounced around from like I get promoted a whole lot because of my ability to something that I've never experienced before. I'm always upfront to like learn about it.
And that's like, self-motivation that I was talking about.
Absolutely.
Self-motivation.
So like I've always been somebody who I just want to learn about stuff, and I feel like even to this day, a lot of things that I've lacked that I didn't learn in like college environment, a lot of it I have learned, whether it be through online classes or courses, YouTube, reading, that I feel like I don't really think it's necessary. Like I think college is necessary for certain fields and certain things, but I don't think it's in the traditional setting that of what it is now. And there's I'm sure if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, you definitely have to go to school for that. But does that have to be in the same setting, in a classroom setting where you have a class at 9 a.m. and you just hear somebody talk for 2 hours and then you just take a test on it? Like I'm not sure if that's really the the way to go about it, right? Because I feel like I've learned so much from YouTube, online classes. I mean, even like with the whole film thing, like I didn't go to film school, but I have taken classes on audio or how to do how to set your camera, color theory, light theory, and all that. A lot of that stuff I learned myself through books, or there's some classes, some courses that I've purchased where, hey, this guy's talking about how to light for interviews, and I learned how to light through interviews, and you learn the same the output that you get from it is the same that you would get from school. And I feel like it's probably even more, you would get more out of that because it's specifically tailored for you, and it's not in a setting where it's just information that's spit out to the masses, and then whoever it sticks with,
that's
why
they
get out of it.
That's why I say that I think this wave is going to hit so hard, is because I think all of a sudden we're going to get to a point where you will be able to get the information and the teaching in whatever format you choose. So we kind of are getting that already, but at the same time, I think you'll be able to get that within a school or a platform or whatever that provides you with a degree or some kind of certification or something that is really what seems like might be the more likely thing to happen, is that instead of people only accepting or respecting a degree, I think it's going to get to the point where we're going to have some kind of certifications or something as far as your completion or whatever of these different online courses, podcasts, whatever it is that's coming with this wave. I think it's going to be just as respected that someone has listened or completed to this amount of this, and they've done a little bit of this, and they've got their information a little bit in the classroom, a little bit from online, a little bit from this, and it's going to be an equal, man.
Yeah, and like something that
if not more respected.
Yeah, and it's something that I've learned in my adult life is that even if you have the degree, if you're not learning constantly and,
growing with it,
like having a degree does nothing for you. Sure, you can have let's say for example, you can have a film degree, but if you're not learning about the new technology and the new cameras that come out and trying to improve your techniques, you went to school
10 years ago, which you know is worthless now.
And it would all be worthless. You would have a lot of the foundational pieces, but if you're not constantly learning, like you never stop learning. So as a person, like, you should that's why I don't understand, like, having a degree what does it mean really? Because us as humans, we're always learning and developing and growing. That
but like you said, in certain fields it's very important, like especially in for instance, with you mentioning doctors and lawyers, law and in the medical field, I'm sure a lot of that stands the test of time. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, I've even heard a lot of doctors mention you have to be up on current knowledge and this and that, and with lawyers I've heard them mention you got to be up on the new current laws and things like that. But I bet a lot of their information would stand the test of time. But I definitely understand with what you're saying, and a lot more things that are related around business and technology and culture and advertising and a number of different things that you would have to be learning constantly and moving with the times and making sure that you stay on top of consuming the information, the knowledge that you need.
Right, because I mean, if you don't evolve, then you just kind of
get left behind.
Yeah,
You're going to get left behind. Yeah, and even you mentioned what you were saying about college reminds me too. Like, I slightly have times of regretting and this and that, but for the most part, I don't, because I do have other people that I went to school with and grew up with. Even two guys that, and including Josh, his two closest friends that I was pretty tight with too. We all were set up to go to DeVry. They did end up going there, and I think I don't know if they ever finished there or if they went on to like ITT Tech or something like that, but they got degrees and did a decent amount of schooling, and I heard from them on multiple occasions that they felt like, what were they doing there? What did they really learn, or what did they accomplish? But at the same time, they've done really well for themselves since then and had certain businesses and jobs and things that I think may or may not have had or gotten the opportunity had they not went that route. But at the same time, I was someone like you, where to me it didn't make a ton of sense money-wise and lifestyle. I didn't had myself set up to be able to pay for something like that, nor did I want that kind of debt. That's something else that I eventually want us to get into doing, or whether it's have a series of it or do a big podcast based around it of like money saving and ways to cut corners and money hacks on ways to, because I think that plays a big part in how you can live and the opportunities that you are able to be ready for when they come to you.
Right. Like, I would like to say that not buy any camera gear, because like I feel like I've kind of fallen into that trap of consumerism where, like, I like to buy like the latest camera and the latest lenses and stuff. And granted, like something I always tell a lot of people who approach me asking about what camera settings they use and what camera should they buy, that sure, having a nice camera or having like a nice equipment makes a difference, but if you don't know the basics of how to use it, then you should just use whatever you have. So a lot of times a lot of videographers or hey, they start shooting music videos, hey, what camera should I buy? I'm like, well, what camera do you have? And they'll tell rattle off whatever camera, and I tell them, oh, that's good enough to do videos. I mean, hell, I was using that just up until recently, and it's a lot more than just having like equipment. And
but I can tell you from someone on the outside that can speak to this and let you know. I mean, from someone that doesn't know, that is something in the camera field or the creating video content, shooting, whether it be picture or video, from someone that doesn't have any idea, that's kind of what your thoughts are. When you see really crispy video, really good quality pictures and stuff like that, you think like, oh man, they have an amazing camera. I can't tell you how many people just when I purchased a camera then said to me like, oh yeah, you got that camera now, so you know what I mean, you can take this kind of pictures or do this kind of video stuff. It's like, yeah, to a degree, but I don't know how to use it the way that it really takes. A lot of people don't know that in-depth side of it until they actually start doing some research or trying to use it, to where it's like you also need to know how to focus things, what settings to use, how to make that camera work. And not that it's outrageously complicated that so many people would not be able to do it, because if that was the case, we wouldn't have so many people using them and becoming successful with them on social media and things. But just that it, from the outside looking in, you look at it like, oh man, if I had this crazy beastie camera,
I'd be able to do that.
I could just grab and shoot. You know what I mean? So that's where I think a lot of that comes from. I don't know if you've thought about that or considered that, or if you ever felt that. But from the outside, I can tell you that's how it feels to us.
Right, and for sure, like, you know, me as, you know, on my come up, you know, like those are the things that I, you know, kind of notice, like, oh, well, if I had this, if I had that, then I'd be able to, you know, do whatever. And, you know, sure, it helps, but, you know, I feel like a lot of things with me, I really started to notice a difference was when I really started, you know, learning how to maximize what I had. And like, I feel like that, I mean, doing something like that where, you know, you're money saving hacks, or just lifestyle hacks in general, I feel like, you know, that's definitely a way to go. And it kind of ties in with, you know, getting in front of the camera and talking about my experiences and just sharing that knowledge that, you know, maybe I can, you know, that kid who's, you know, about to go, you know, into red to buy a camera, you know, hey, maybe you don't have to go into red, and how about you know, take advantage of what you have and, you know, go from there. Like, I feel like that's definitely something worth teaching people. And, you know, that tying with, you know, with the money and, you know, just with life in general, you know, there's definitely a lot of ways to maximize what you have. I mean, and like, it's pretty interesting talking about that, because like, I know, you know, during my upbringing, you know, my mom struggled a whole lot and we didn't really have the best of anything. So a lot of the times I really, you know, you were forced to make do with what you have. Mm-hmm. And nowadays, sometimes, like, you know, I feel like even myself, I feel like I have a lot more than what I did before. And you're kind of like, oh, damn, I don't know what to do with all of this. Where, you know, if things were a little bit more simpler, then, you know, you could just kind of make work with what you have. And like, I feel like that's something important a lot of people should really take to heart, is that, you know, you don't need this shiny new this and that, you know, you should just really make do with what you have and take full advantage of it. And then when the time does come to make an upgrade or, you know, get something else, then you've already maximized that. And, you know, it'll make that transition a whole lot easier. And even like, you know, it's something specific is like with the camera, if you really learn how to maximize this like very cheap camera and make it look good, you know, just imagine how much better everything else is going to do when you do have something of high, you know, a camera of higher quality, better resolution or whatever. Yeah, man, if you know how to use it.
Yeah. Then, that's my thoughts exactly. And that gratitude is huge too, man. Just to, like you said, to be grateful for what you have. It's funny, in rewatching these podcasts that we've done, it's shown me and reminded me, like, I kind of was weary of it and thought a lot about it even before we started doing anything like this. But then once we started doing this, it's just shown even more to me of how random times I talk about where I'm at or what I have. And I think for a lot of people, and even myself at times, I'm like, man, I'm talking myself up too much, or acting like I'm just doing so great or have this much money or living this kind of life or things like that. And it's like, what it is, it's not that that's the case. It's that I'm that grateful for it. It's that I realize how convenient it is. So it's like, it's funny. I've even said things or thought things to myself, but I've definitely said them, I think, to Tony as well. But it's like, at times, something as seeing like $1 or random dollars laying around, or Nay just playing with money, or something that she's seen us, that we left laying on the table, or this and that. It's like, it's funny how it clicks with me sometimes just to think, like, there's plenty of people that is outrageous to. Like, your little kid is just playing with a few dollars that they could just rip up and it could be out the window or something like that, or that you guys just have it laying around, like, and I'm talking dollars. So I'm not talking like
bro,
we're rich, like, oh, there's thousands of dollars sitting around, or there's even hundreds or 50. I'm talking about just sometimes when I see $1 or $2 laying around, it just makes me think, like, man, like, yeah, that's a blessed state as compared to the rest of the world. And to hear him talk about how the 1%, people think that the 1% is the rich and this, that, but they don't know in the U.S. we live in the 1%.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, I mean, we're like in the top half of the percent, you know?
Yeah. And it's just that gratitude that you were discussing in that, as far as, like you said, just to be grateful with what you have and work with what you have, I think it works for so many different angles in life, but it definitely, like you said, in working with the cameras or working with something like this or anything, it lets you know, it gets you off on the right foot and lets you know to keep going, that master what you have, work with what you have. And it's weird how in doing that and in being appreciative and things like that, it then spirals into you coming on to other things or learning more information or just having more opportunity. And I think that's something that I even see happening with things like this. I had a conversation with Goodspeed that you used to work with, that I still work with, Jim Goodspeed, and was mentioning to him that I think he should do something with sports, because his knowledge of sports and the way he talks about it, the way he can recall things with his memory, he reminds me so much of a stats guy for like a radio station and stuff, where they say, hey, so-and-so, hey, stats, give us what you got on this and that, whatever, and it's just boom, he's got it. I mean, he'll list off jersey numbers of somebody from 50 years ago, and
like random stats and averages,
and how many years this guy was a Pro Bowler, and yards averaged and this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I said, you need to do something like this. I said, because even if it just sparks that to turns into you getting a opportunity or someone approaching you to then come work for their radio station or for their podcast or collab with me and you on something or whatever. And I was trying to tell him, like, I was giving him the same thing, man, you wouldn't believe with the basics that you could start with. You wouldn't believe how little amount of money you could spend to get rolling with what you have.
It's funny you talk about, like, you mentioned Gary Vee earlier. He's always talking about, like, hey, like, this is, we all have this.
I love that you're saying that, because that's exactly what I said to him. He said, so like, how basic could I start? I said, you can start with your phone. I said, that's how basic you can start. I said, you can start with your phone, and there's a legit app that will post to your different platforms and do everything that you want to do for. I said, Gary Vee mentioned that one over and over and over. Which one? What was the one that he was?
It's Anchor.
Anchor. Yeah. And I told him, I said, Anchor is the one that is that comes to my mind right away, that you could just download the app, or create your account and press record, and right off the bat you're recording a conversation you're having. You're just recording if you want to just talk, sit in your room at night and run through something before you go to bed. And if anybody's out there and listening to this, I think they should definitely take that in. Like, if there's some information you want to put out or something you have to say that you think is of value to someone,
just say it.
Do it.
And like, you didn't even, it's funny that you mentioned, like, even doing something like that, like Anchor, is like, excuse me, it's fancy. Like, you could post on Facebook or Instagram Live or whatever it is,
to where people are going to respect it. Like, I think that's what you mean by fancy, is it's going to put a good quality, nice looking audio file out there that someone, your followers or your friends or whatever right off the bat can see and maybe take you a little more seriously.
Right. Even kind of going back to, like, us, starting the podcast, and when we started talking about what equipment to buy and what things we needed, we had those conversations where, like, hey, we don't really need to get all of this, and it's not necessarily, sure, it'll help, but honestly, to anybody, like, you don't, if you feel like if you haven't started a podcast because you're like, oh, I can't buy fancy microphone, I don't have video and this and that, like, you don't need all of that. You just use what you have, and just get the information out there, regardless of what tools you use to get it out there and what quality is. Ultimately, like, something I that resonates with me, and I hear some other creatives say, is that the story is king. Is like, ultimately the message that you're relaying and what you're talking about, whether it be in a video and a
people are going to subscribe to you,
right? So whatever the message of that content that you're putting out is, that's ultimately what really matters. And regardless of whether if it's just audio where, you hear, a washing machine or the furnace running in the background, like, it doesn't matter what it is, as long as the message is if it connects with somebody, then that's really what's important. So, one thing that, I've struggled with, and, I'm sure a lot of people struggle with, is like getting started. And, at the end of the day, you just gotta do it. I mean, even like right now, one of the things that like I'm personally struggling with is, taking that leap into like, full blown, video creation, doing that full time, because of, oh, hey, what am I going to do about, making money or paying the bills, the mortgage, this and that. And like, that's one of the things that's really like, I feel like has hindered me from pursuing it full time. And something that's a common theme with podcasts, with people that I listen to, people that I look up to, that everything changed when they just did it. And I have to, just do it.
Yeah.
And I feel like, even right now, like, I'm not comfortable with being in front of the camera or being a person or speaking from a position of expertise that you just got to do it.
I mean, but even right now,
what it boils down
be honest with it, it's not that bad, right?
Oh, absolutely not.
So, that's something that I think people need to hear. It's not that bad.
And then once you start doing it, you
have
realize
cameras and lights and stuff on us right now, and it's like, it like you said, once you start doing it or just getting one experience of it, it just, every time you do something like this, every time you do something new, it opens your mind even more and bumps up your confidence even more.
Yeah, it's something that a friend of mine, Rosie Nix, he plays for the Steelers. I've been doing some video stuff with him over the past year, and something he always says is like, you have to be okay with being uncomfortable. You're not getting better if you're not uncomfortable. So if you're never uncomfortable, then something is wrong. And I feel like a lot of us get caught up in that, where we're comfortable with what we have and what we're doing. And I understand that it's not for everybody. Like some people,
and it doesn't have to be.
And it doesn't have to be. And I feel like a lot of people feel
forced.
They're fine with being comfortable. They're fine with their jobs. But if you feel that you could be doing something else, or you feel that you have it in you to be doing something else, then you should really pursue that.
At least give it a shot. Even not so much like you say, even not to like just throw out your regular career or spend a bunch of money or time or whatever. Just at least dabble with it. Do some research, see what it takes, and give yourself at least that peace of mind that you're not going to regret that you at least didn't look into it or give it a shot.
Absolutely. And like, I feel like that's kind of something that I've heard from other people, and a lot, like, kind of going back to a lot of the influences that I have with, podcasts and, just the internet, that, if you don't do it, you're going to regret it. So, there's no better time than now than the present to do what it, if you have an inkling in you that, hey, I want to, start a podcast, or I want to be an expert, talk about, washing dishes, or whatever the case may be, that, you just got to do it, and if and it doesn't mean like you have to, quit your job right now and just start doing it. But, whenever you have time, you could be researching it. You could be doing something about it. You could be, on the weekends when you have time. Like, there's something that I've learned recently is that, one of the biggest currencies, the most expensive, valuable currencies that we have as humans is time. And we waste it. I mean, I find myself, I waste time on social media, scrolling through Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, etc. And when you really, like a lot of the phones nowadays, they track how your usage and how long, like I'll look at that sometimes, like, damn, like, did I really
feel disgusted?
Yeah, for real. Like, and like it's crazy, and it's really put it into perspective that, we all have the same amount of time in a day, and to do whatever, and like, our successes are driven or derived from how we spend that time.
I love that you're saying that, man. I love that you're saying that from the perspective of someone that doesn't necessarily come from the U.S., you know what I mean, or at least the mainland.
We are.
I said not the mainland, right, not the mainland. That's why I said technically, you know what I mean, and that just putting that out there, and especially not as a white male. So for a lot of times, I think me and a lot of different sources that people hear that type of stuff from a white male, they're like, yeah, your success is just based on you and this and that. And it's like, no, honestly, for a lot of people it is. Because, yeah, there's always hiccups. And I'm sure you being someone non-white male like myself or whatever can speak to some of the other hiccups and things and problems that you run into because of those things. But at the same time, you do believe, and a lot of other people are starting to believe, that how far they go with things or their success or their happiness, a lot is more driven internally. And I definitely feel like that's the case. And another thing I wanted to say that you reminded me of, you talking about using the time and how valuable our time is and the things we waste time on. The biggest one seems to be entertainment, how much we waste our time being entertained. Now, it's nice to hear a certain song from time to time that makes you feel really good, or go watch a movie at home that makes you feel a certain way. I do it for sure. I'm not saying that I don't. But these podcasts were one of the first times that I started realizing, like, hold on. Instead of sitting at work all day listening to music or listening to the radio, I could be learning stuff or hearing about stuff that I'm interested in at the same time I'm getting paid to do work, just by listening to it on the radio the same way that I would listen to
a song or
the local
or whatever.
news or talk sports or this and that. I can also be listening to something that's valuable and that helps me grow as a human being, helps me grow intellectually, helps me grow possibly in business and things like that. And it was a really a kickstart to me of a different mindset of thinking like, man, I can really start using my time more wisely like this, as opposed to sitting there just listening to the newest album from so-and-so and things like that. And if that's your thing, and if you're somebody that's really passionate about the music, zero problem with it.
Right, but I feel like a lot of people who want to explore these other interests and want to pursue their passions, a lot of them say, oh, hey, well,
I don't really have the time.
I don't have the time. I'm like, yeah, you do. Like, if you
just posted the other day that you listened to Lil Wayne's new entire album
5 times.
Yeah, or that you just everybody should go check out so-and-so's newest thing, or that you spent all this time watching a certain TV series, or all what's some of the real popular ones, Walking Dead and all those other type of ones. It's like, or Power, or on and on and on. It's like, that same time you were doing that, you could have been watching or listening to something that is putting you in a different path to a place that you want to go.
Right. And and it's, again, if that's what you want to do, then sure, if that's how you want to spend your time. But I feel like a lot of people who complain about not having time or not being able to do that, I'm like, well, you're not really spending a whole lot of time in pursuing that or doing it. So, it's, if you manage your time a little bit differently, then you would put yourself in a position where you can be an expert of this, or you could be doing, that, or whatever the case may be. But, if I feel like with me, I feel like I had a lot of breakthroughs when I started really analyzing how I'm spending my time, and it's allowed me to somehow to somewhat balance my side career doing video, which ultimately I wanted to be full time, but I have a regular day job, corporate job, and then I have family, kids, spending, going, they play sports, they do, have a lot of extracurricular activities. I mean, or even if it's just like sitting down as a family watching TV or watching a movie, I feel like when I started really being more conscious of how I spent and managed my time, that's when I really started to find that balance. Because I tell you, there were times where I was crazy. I'm like, man, when am I going to get this video done? Or when am I'm not spending time with the kids, or I'm not seeing them. And sometimes I feel like I have to spend a lot more time, shooting a video or editing or traveling or doing whatever. But I still try to fit in, time. And ultimately, they say you make time for whatever is important to you. So if something is really important enough for you to, pursue a passion, you'll make the time. And I don't think a lot of people really realize that, we really waste a lot of time, and some of it I feel like it's just mindlessly, and we do it without really meaning to. And it kind of goes like the whole, entertainment's always been a form of escapism for a lot of people. I mean, I admit it, even for myself, sometimes, you're going through them like, oh, well, I'm just going to watch a movie or do this and that just to, kind of you come home from a long day of work. I'm like, oh, well, I'm just going to chill and watch a movie and, forget about this long day that I just had. But it's an escapism, but I feel like a lot of people just get sucked. Excuse me. I feel like people just get kind of sucked into it. And, then you realize like, oh shit, like, 8 hours have gone by and I haven't done anything.
Yeah, I do it. And don't get me wrong. That's why I say like, any of these things that I say or things I put out here, I always want people to know I'm not ever saying it in the form that I'm perfect or be like me, do like me, this and that, because there's none of that is beneficial to anyone in the first place. It's not all everyone else is wrong or you should live your life like this or handle things this way. Everyone do their own thing, and I'm very guilty of those same things. I at times get off of work, especially I'll notice that like at the end of a week, and it's like, oh man, tonight sounds like an awesome night to go home, chill, watch a movie, get a little bit of, eat something good, get some rest, things like that. But at the same time, like you said, sometimes you do that and you do a bunch of other stuff, or you spend a bunch of time on your phone or something as well, and you feel like, man, what did I just do with the last couple of hours? Or at least I know for me, I'm bad for staying up late sometimes for no reason. Right. And I've gotten a lot better about it, but still I'll be like, man, then it drags into my next day. Then the next day I'm tired. I could have got more done the next morning.
It's like a whole domino effect.
Yeah, domino effect, man. And it's all about, like you said, it's becoming conscious of the fact of how valuable our time is.
And one of the things that I've noticed too is that, like, like I try to do a better job about that, is that, for me, a lot of my business is really driven off of social media. That's where I get the majority of my business. So, of course, I'm always on the phone, whether it be replying to a DM or an email, or I'm, updating my calendar, or, trying to learn something, that sometimes I feel like I get stuck into that, like, that time warp or that black hole of being on my phone, that sometimes, I kind of feel a shitty admitting it, but like sometimes I feel like I'll spend more time doing that than, paying attention to the kids or being in the moment. And like something that I try to do now is like, hey, if we're like together as a family and we're like doing something with each other, playing catch or whatever, then, like I try not to be on my phone. And like I definitely have been trying to do a better job about that, because I've realized that, hey, you're not living in the moment and you're like caught into that, and like you miss out on certain things, and your mind is not fully attentive to what's going on.
Yeah, it's the one tough balance that I don't know if we're really going to find the happy medium a lot of times. And I think Gary Vee speaks to that a lot as well, because it's like, it depends on what you're doing. It depends on what your business is, what your avenue of income is, what your focus is at that time. Because I think anybody who's been a parent for a decent amount of time, I think we've all had that moment where you're like, your kid says something that kind of hits you like, oh, like where they're like, hey, come over here and leave your phone alone, or this and that or something. Nay said something like that to me today, and I'm not even usually somebody that's on my phone a lot, but she just said something to me like, oh, come dance with me or something like that. And she's like, and I was like, okay, well, she's like, Daddy, something. She was like, just come dance. Don't worry about your phone. And it was like, it always is like a knife to your heart, because you just feel like, oh man, like, and granted, I think I'm lucky in that I know I don't spend that much time on my phone, and that I work a regular job, and a lot of my business is while I'm gone from the house. So when I'm home, I am super hands-on and in the moment with her. But I can imagine for you, I see it for Tony, for my wife Tony that is, and a lot of other people, that their business a lot of times is done through the phone or on a laptop or things like that. I imagine that hits even harder, and it is kind of hard to swallow when you think like, oh man, how much am I ignoring them, or is the time outweighing?
Right. And like one of the biggest things like for me is that sometimes like I'll be on my phone, they'll say something, and like you just don't, it doesn't register what they've said. So you're like, hey, what'd you say? And like there's been a few times now where they'll just be like, oh, never mind, or don't worry about it. And like, and I don't want to say it upsets me, because it hurts, because I'm like, damn, like I'm not, paying attention, and I'm far from perfect, but like I'm definitely a lot more conscious about, about that. And like I want to, I actively try to, if I know I'm going to be doing something, I try to, just keep the phone in my pocket, don't look at it. And, I feel like it's worked. I mean, even, like in my relationship, that it helps when, you put the phone down and kind of have that interaction. And it's a stigma. And like it works, things work differently for different people, different strokes for different folks, right? But like I feel like for me, when I do that, I got to feel things are a whole lot better, and there's a lot. The interactions are different, and sure, like Gary Vee says it all the time, like, people are on their phone, when they weren't talking to each other, they would just want to be talking to each other. It's like, it's no different than that. Like I feel like if whatever works for you, if once you find that balance, and then it's, then I think you'd be good. That's
a big thing that you saying that, and then also some other things that we talked about reminded me of something from him with Gary Vee is he hits a lot of people a little wrong way, and a lot of people kind of feel either guilty or offended from him. But I feel a lot more of what he's actually saying or trying to put across as in, if this is not what you want, fine. And I hope people get that from some of the stuff that we're saying as well too. If you don't want more time with the family, and I'm saying that if you don't want to have your own business, or you're not interested in constantly expanding your mind or learning on other topics and stuff like that, and you're happy with like, hey, I work a pretty cool job, decent gig, I'm content, I'm happy with what I do, I come home, I enjoy my family, we watch movies, we sit around, I play on my phone, I have a nice balance, I feel good with what I do. We're not speaking to that. I hope people know that, you know what I mean? It's more like what he talks about of just make sure your actions match your ambition. So if you want more, if you are someone who wants more or wants different, we are trying to provide some of those insights, and I think he is, and a lot of other people as well too, of how to go about things if you aren't happy in your situation, or you want more.
Right, or you're passionate about something, you want to pursue a certain avenue or thing.
And even if you're just worried about regretting it, if you're worried about regretting not trying and things like that, because starting this podcast, you are someone that's a lot similar to like what Josh was to me, that you were a constant knock on my head and reminder to me of why do I not do certain things? Why am I not trying? Why am I not self-motivated? Why am I not having the mindset that I saw in you in a lot of aspects? So I always saw you quick to want to learn, quick to try something, quick to really like, you've surprised me how you really get into the details of things. So when you learn something or you want to know something, you're not a headline reader or like someone who just goes off of the basics,
the synopsis.
The basis of how to do something. I'm bad for that and have been, and I want to speak it into existence going forward of trying to be better about it. Is I'm going to try to do more of that, and I have with certain things, but I want to try to do it on almost everything, of not just getting an overall view of things when I'm trying to learn about something, but getting into the details, because I noticed that, I mean, you really, really learn something or really, really get into the depths of things when you want to know them. So right off the bat, when I first met you, I noticed how much you knew about technology and phones and things. And they interested you, so therefore you did what you could to really learn the inner workings of it. And then when this stuff with the camera happened, it's like that's when it really sparked, and I really saw it the most, is because, like you said, you haven't been to school for it. You aren't someone that has gotten some tutoring or this and that from a physical source. You sought it out. You found it online. You did what you could do to learn it on your own and really teach yourself. And your self-motivation is something that I think was the game changer that made you that much better in your videos and everything, the quality that much better than a lot of people, because I think a lot of people probably do or did what I've done as far as just getting on there, reading the basics, seeing the overall, this is how I turn on the camera, this is how I shoot, this, how that, and you're like, I want to know lighting, I want to know sound, I want to know this, I want to know that, I want to work on my angles, on my color schemes, on everything. Like, it's really that motivation stuff in you has been, I think, the game changer for what's put you down a path for success. And I think that's what I want to implement in myself a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean thanks for saying that. It's honestly really something that I've never really thought about, because like whenever I just want to learn about something, I just want to learn about it. Like I never really, I don't really put any mind into like as to why I'm.
It's who
learning
you
it.
are.
Right.
That's the difference. It's who you are.
Right.
We're talking about something that's the difference in between who you are opposed to you're saying like, well, I don't notice it. You don't notice it because it's who you are. So that's what I'm saying. It's something that I think a lot of these podcasts and social media and everything is really beneficial for, it is because people get to see someone else doing it and say like, it's a nice reminder, or even just a good source of information. Hey, I could be like that too.
Yeah.
I could do that too. I could go about things that way as well. So for instance, even like to see different sports players or people that just live similar lives to us or whatever, and then to hear someone say how much they've read or how much stuff they consume online or how much they've done this or how much they've traveled. I think a lot of it has opened us up to, oh man, well I guess, yeah, I could do that too. And it's definitely been something as simple as travel that I've seen. They talk about online a lot now, how there's studies and things where they show where the amount that travel has increased and how much more open people are to it nowadays, just off the fact that people see their friends go on some trip and post the pics and videos on vacation. They're like, I want to do that too, or I want to post that stuff too. And it's like, does it have its downsides of people wanting to keep up and stuff? Yeah, of course. But at the same time, it's opened that up, that it's something that shows people and gives them that boost and that kick of, hey, I can try that too. I can go that route too.
Yeah. I think like kind of going back to, when we mentioned travel, I feel like a lot of the experiences that I have, a lot of what's really molded me to who I am today is really driven by the experiences I've had by traveling to other countries and seeing how people do things differently. Even from my experiences growing up, that I feel like I've been exposed to a wide variety of things, that I understand that it's not just what's within our viewfinder, that there's a lot more in the world.
Yeah, man, that's
to learn from and to grow from, and like just having those experiences, it just really like, man, like things are so different over there and here, and it's totally not what I envisioned or what I knew about it. That I feel like that's one of the things that really drives me to want to learn and be more. I want to say like the term would be open-minded to accepting different ideas and just learning. Just being more open-minded, and it allows you to really grow and learn.
Travel has always came off to me as being the number one thing that opens people's minds, and the number one thing that opened my mind to a lot of different lifestyles or ways of doing things or living or growing up or schooling or working or whatever. And I think it would be so beneficial to the people that do not travel or haven't had the opportunity once they have the opportunity to take full advantage of it, because it's such an eye opener. But it also makes me think how much that's definitely one area. I don't regret many things in many areas, but one thing I definitely regret, and I wish, and I don't know if it was even that someone didn't tell me or preach it to me when I was younger, as much as I wish I would have just handled it better on my own and within myself, is that when I was younger, I wish I was more open. I wish I was more open to certain experiences, having conversations with people that I thought, oh, there's no reason to talk to that person, or we don't have the same things in common, or they're too uppity, or they're too this, or they're too that. It's like, I wish I would have been more open to just always getting more and more and more experiences, because I feel like that's the common theme I see now in almost anything, in successful people, in happy people, in open-minded people, in everything. It's like, the more things you just experience for yourself and open yourself up to, and conversations you have and stuff, leads to so much more knowledge, happiness, success, like information on relationships, connections, sometimes even like getting a deal on something, anything, like, and not just to be full advantage to yourself, but just make for a better life experience for you and everyone around you.
Yeah, I mean, and even just being that open-minded will help you with whatever endeavors you're trying to pursue. Kind of, to throw in some sports talk, you hear about Kobe, how, hey, he like, what was there, the one that something I saw like in a documentary recently, or like in an interview where he was talking about one year, like Allen Iverson or something like that he had studied like how certain animal acted in the wild or whatever, because he ended up using that as ammo to counter another play. I think it was like Allen Iverson or something like that, where he like studied like sharks or something along those lines to really kind of put him in a mindset or perspective of how to attack a certain problem. Like that's somebody that I always hear, like he would always do like what's considered like these really oddball things that he would like learn, but he used that to help him with his game,
grow,
and
right, and progress. And that's something. I mean, I'm amazed at what he's doing now and stuff. He won that. I can't remember what award, but he won an award for the film that he made.
Yeah, I think it was like an Emmy.
Yeah. It was Emmy or something along those lines.
Like a Golden Globe, or it was like
one of the major ones. One of the major ones. Yeah, you can tell clearly that's not our level of expertise. But and then everything else that he's doing, and it's almost like seeing a different person too. How open he is to everyone and wanting to help people and stuff, like where he came off on the court as this guy that was like an ass that didn't want to
have anything to do with anybody,
and he's just all about winning and himself and this and that. And it's like, it's been really awesome. But it's funny too that you mentioned that and bring his name up, because that was a big way that I've told people that like I started becoming open-minded when I got older. He was a big source of that, because when I was younger, I was just that fan that was like, oh, I hate Kobe, and he's this, and he's not this, he's not LeBron, he's not whatever, this and that. But then as I got older and I got to respect him for what he was, it's like, Kobe is a savage. Kobe is a dog. Like, he is by far one of the best players ever, and it got me to the point to be able to appreciate him more and talk more about him. And just another one of those avenues where sports helped open my mind to, regardless of what my past thoughts were or my immature way of thinking was, to now look at things for what they really are, as opposed to just looking at them for what suited my likes and dislikes or my fanhood.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like I feel kind of like to give that message to to the audience is that it's be open-minded, and it'll help you get a lot further along with whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah, and like I said, I think the biggest thing is not even that it's just like to benefit yourself and this and that, and to find ways for that it helps you and benefits you, but at the same time, it's going to provide knowledge to you and make every situation around you better when you're more open-minded to what's going on. And I'm not saying be open to anything and everything to where you're okay with the worst things in life.
Right. Of course, everything has its
exceptions and
has its exceptions, and like
not speaking in absolutes, but
right, exactly.
But at the same time, just being open creates for more opportunity for you and everyone else around you, because sometimes you helping someone else might in turn be what you get the most out of. You might really appreciate or be really happy and pleased with something that you were able to do for someone else and things like that. But
absolutely.
Before we get out of here and stuff too, I want to get more into. So what are some of the things you can tell people as well too on like your journey along this process of like really creating this almost monster of what you have of your business of doing videos and things like that? What have been some of the key things that someone that's trying to grow their own things that you've learned or kind of had to bump your head on first that maybe you might be able to help them out with? Is there anything specific that you could think of?
I mean, I'm still going through that journey right now. I feel like there's definitely a lot of things that I wish if I had known sooner in the process.
Those are the type of things. Yeah.
I feel like early on, I feel like I got trapped into like that whole, spending a lot of money unnecessarily on equipment and thinking that it was going to make a big difference. And I think too, like, it's important to really pursue your passions and whatever it is that you want to do in life. But at the same time, you want to, research and try to learn as much as you can while doing it. And I'd say the biggest thing that I've learned is that I I wish I would have done it sooner. I wish I would have done everything that I've done up to this point. I wish I would have done it sooner. And
It's the
I mean,
same
even
thing
right
I feel
now,
about the podcast, man.
I mean, and even right now, like, I wish that I would have, pursued it full time sooner. And it's something I'm still like battling with, to this day. But it's something that, like, I'm speaking into existence. Like, I know that's something I've, it's really taken away from you recently. And some of the influences that I have is that, like, you just got to do it. You just have to do it. There's, you have to speak it into existence. And if you want something really bad, you speak it into existence. And, obviously there's a process and you have to go take
It's like
certain
it prepares
steps.
your mind for it, man.
Yeah,
It prepares your
absolutely.
mind for it to start making the right actions.
And I mean, it's something I tell you, like,
Or take
kind of like speaking things into existence. I've been telling myself, like, hey, I'm going to go, when I really started telling myself, like, hey, I'm going to pursue this full time. Once I really got into that mindset of really getting into that mindset of, like, hey, this is what I'm going to be doing. And, like, I kind of gave myself a timeline of when I want to do it. I feel like I've had a lot of work present itself and a lot of opportunities to where, like, I feel like, oh man, like, it's almost like I'm speaking it into existence and, like, things
it's
are
almost
really
immediately happening.
Yeah, and like things are really starting to present itself. Like, hey, well, you want to do this full time, so here's all this work that you need to do, and you're not going to be able to do your other job because it's going to consume all your time. And kind of, I want to talk about. Like, I know I sent you his page. That Charlie Rocket.
Yeah.
He's somebody who's been, like, really big for me as far as, like, also, like, speaking things into existence. He's had, like, a few crazy experiences where he's, like, started talking about something and, like, the next few days, like, he
It comes out of nowhere.
it comes out of nowhere. He's put in a position
Gotcha.
that's helped him get to where he needs to go. And I've noticed that myself, that once I've started to put myself in that mindset that I want this, that, it puts you get put into that position of things happening. And one thing too is that something I want people to really take away too is that your mindset, your mindset is what really determines how successful you are in life, with business, with anything that you do. And I feel like having a positive mindset, having an open mind to learning from outside sources, influences, from anywhere where you can get it, like that definitely will help you put yourself in a position to be successful.
It seems to be the most common theme on everything that I've consumed lately and on the internet now is how much people are trying to make people aware of just being open to all that and taking it all in. And if it's something you're passionate about, it's also going to make you work that much harder at it and that much more interested in it.
Yeah.
And it's all out there.
And sorry to cut you off, but like, and kind of going back to, like, doing it, by doing it, even if you're not successful or good, you give yourself more opportunities to be even more successful, because with each failure, you realize that, oh, hey, well, I guess that didn't work last time, so let me do it differently. So it allows you to put yourself in a position of success because you're figuring out what doesn't work. And you ultimately, that gets you to where you need to be a lot faster than just waiting for the right time or the right moment or the right opportunity to do that. Because if you're not giving yourself the opportunities, you'll never have the opportunity because it'll never present itself.
Yeah, when I watched a lot of these podcasts and interviews and things online, one of the most common things from some of the most successful people, when I'm talking about big successful billionaires and the people that are really just making waves in the world right now, is so many of them talk about how your failures and their failures have been the best things for them and the things that they've learned the most from. They literally, like, people think it's like cliche and that people are just saying that because it sounds good, but it's like you see some of these guys talk about it and girls talk about it, and it's like they really mean every word of what they're saying, that they learn so much more from trying something and it not working out than they did just trying something that worked out right off the bat, or for sure not trying at all. And that's something that the mindset that I kind of try to take on in doing something like this. And I've done a lot of the things that you mentioned to try to start this, which is, it was good to hear you say as well, like some of the little online courses or random things. I took in as many free ones as I could, and then I think I even bought one that was real cheap of like how to start a podcast, this and that, whatever. But you don't, not that you need to spend the money or anything like that, or that you have to have that, but it's just like, if it really means something to you, do that. Take that time and try. And I think you giving off that message is exactly what a lot of people need to hear. And it's the common theme in everyone that I've brought on here so far, and why I think it's been something that me and you, as well as you that me and you were interested in, as well as something common that you have with the rest of the guests, and why I wanted to bring you on and stuff as well, is that you're someone that is working and going about things the right way, as well as whenever you speak or try to help someone out, the things that come out of your mouth are the same thing, that you're putting out the right message and telling people the right way to go about things, and giving whatever help and information that you can provide.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of, I mean, I feel like that's what, a lot of people, if kind of going back to answer your question, if I feel like I wish I would have had a lot of those influences a lot more early on, that it would have allowed me to kind of, kick myself into gear and get started a whole lot sooner. And, and kind of going back to like the whole teaching thing, and just really putting myself out there, that, I feel like that's something I definitely need to do, because it'll help somebody else who's in the same position that I was, early on.
Yeah.
And, hopefully that message could get to them, and they can, learn from that and become successful from that.
That's exactly why I mentioned the thing about you doing something in Spanish. It's not because I was saying that you should do that solely or anything like that. It was saying alongside what you're already doing or planning on doing. It was saying that especially with the way that you speak so well in both languages, I think the market, or I guess we could say like the amount of stuff that's out there for your type of thing in Spanish, I don't know because I haven't looked into it, but I can only assume a lot of this stuff is more common in the States. It just seems that way. It just comes off that way. And it might be just because we're numb to the...
Right, to whatever else is going...
Right. But at the same time, I think there probably is opportunity to it. But I really think that that's an avenue where you can do that. And I love that the people that I've brought on, and a lot of people in my life, are the type of people that want to help like that. I was just telling Tony today, I was like, we got to talking from watching Zach's podcast about the level of pride of that some people have of where they're coming from. And we were mentioning Zach, how prideful he is of the West Side and Columbus and stuff. And he brought up how much pride the guy Ike Jefferson has in West High School and the West Side and things like that. And I was telling her, and me and Zach talked about that too, about how she's kind of always been on the fence about that, and one of those people that she steps back a little bit or feels a certain type of way when somebody wants to ask where she's from or this and that, because she doesn't know what someone's stigma is going to be.
Right.
But I told her, I said, at the same time, someone like you, especially once she could get to the point to be comfortable with it, I told her it would be awesome for her to go into a classroom or a rec center or anything and just talk to a bunch of young girls about how any girl from the West Side could eventually have their own business, run their own business and things like that. And I think you don't even realize sometimes that that's kind of what you are for people. I bet there's a lot of people that, or kids or anything that you could talk to, especially in Puerto Rico, but here too, that just to let them know, hey, this is something that you could do one day. You could do something like mine, bigger, or something similar in your own lane.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's not something I've really thought about, but kind of just talking to having that conversation, like really like man, like I feel like that's something that we should, as people, that's probably something that we should do. We should always be willing to give back in some kind of way.
Yeah,
because I think the only thing that good that could come out of it is you set up the next person for success. And I feel like if we would be in a lot better position if we would be exposed to that a whole lot more. Yeah.
The first time I got to an age where I started to realize that I was at a point where I was pretty happy or content in my life and financially comfortable, I started feeling like, man, I would love to be able to tell people that grew up in the places that I went to and went to the high school that I went to and things like that, that this is possible, that you don't have to be rich or in the gutter.
Right.
That there is opportunity for you to be like someone like, because I feel like when we were going to school, it's like, I don't know if it's the same way for you, but it felt like at times like the kids at the good schools, they're going to go on to the decent jobs and have the nice houses and nice cars and the good little family and this and that. And it's like for us, it's either we're going to be stuck around here or we're going to make it big.
Right.
That in between.
You're either in jail or you're a professional athlete or whatever.
Pretty much, you know what I mean? Or just living in the hood or living in a mansion. It's kind of like the thoughts of a kid growing up in these areas, it seems like, and it definitely was for me. But once I got to a point where it was like it wasn't either of those things, and it felt really good, it made me, from that moment forward, I always had the thought that if I ever reach some kind of place or platform or wherever where I can go into my former high school or wherever, or one of my other schools and speak to the kids and tell them, hey, you can do something with your life too. That's not the only two options for you. That I really want to do that thing. And I think it's something that both of us need to think more about, and it's something that you definitely should try to do what you can, and it'll lead to other things for you as well.
Right. I mean, I feel like what we're doing right now is, we are doing it right now.
I hope so, man.
We have that podcast. And,
I hope so.
We're still, we're still kind of fumbling through it and figuring it out. Hopefully, whoever's listening to this, I know with the ones that we've posted so far, they've had they've been received pretty well, and hopefully that message is getting, across to the right people. And, if you take something away from it, then, we're grateful. Be sure to let us know if you are getting something away from it. And if you have experienced some kind of success, we would love to hear from that, about that, and, how we've, impacted you ultimately, like, hopefully with what we're doing here, that, I hope that we can impact people's lives and, set them up for success. And
that's what I hope more than anything from this podcast, man. And as we wrap up here, that's exactly what I'm super glad you got into that. Is I hope that people get from it that I'm coming at this from a genuine place, and that's also why, like the name Aaron Wants to Know, I also wanted to be as straightforward as possible to let people know the things I'm trying to get out of this for myself. It's not just for, like, I want to get on here and say I'm providing for the people. I want to be honest and say I want this information for myself as well too. I want these conversations for a selfish reason also. But at the same time, I know it's because it's being documented and it's going to be able to be freely given to everyone else at the same time, and they can get the same information. So I hope everyone takes that same thought process when they consume our stuff, man, and they feel like that they like what they're getting, or they understand that I'm coming from a real place and I'm genuine about the things that I say. I think we definitely should do something putting this one out that going forward, that just asking a question or tell people, give their input. Like you said, I think this is a good one that we can attach it to the post on this one to say, hey, let us know, just even telling us that you kind of come from a similar background and are really grateful for where you're at, and any little bit of information or something to kind of spark someone else or tell them, hey, keep going or whatever. And the biggest way, I just wanted to motivate other people to post something like that on their own social media or their own platform to say, hey, keep going, keep trying, you can do it, try. And the main thing, like you said, just try in general. Just try.
Yeah. I mean, because if you don't try, you never know what it could be. So, just give it a shot.
Yeah, I really appreciate you doing this, man. Is there anything else you want to get into before we get out of here? Or?
No, I'm getting ready to go on vacation, man. I've been
man, going to Hawaii. I'm jealous, man. I'm jealous. I've been before, but it's been a really long time, and you're gonna love it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, I guess just to kind of wrap it up, I feel like, hey, if you listen to the other podcast, if you listen to this episode, thank you for listening. If like Aaron said, if you could just give us some feedback as to what you've taken away from it, how you feel about it, what's going on. I mean, even throw out subjects or things that you like to hear. We definitely would love that feedback.
That's something we definitely have to get into too. And I think that's exactly what my plans were anyways with where we're at now. I wanted to get these first couple ones under our belt and knock out ones that are more around the entrepreneurship, starting your own business aspect. But I think going forward, we'll do ones that are more catered. We'll do some more in some other series that are more catered to kind of some suggestions that people want to give, and trying to provide people with what they really want. Like, so providing them with value, which has been our goal from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess, like, you know, one last final thought is to, you know, if you're, you know, passionate about something, you feel like you're stuck, and, you know, that you could be doing something else, I really, you know, express, hey, start pursuing it, start learning about it, speak it into existence, and ultimately you can put yourself in a position to be doing whatever you want to do, and, you know, ultimately, you know, have some kind of success from it. And I mean, and, you know, I'm not talking about success, you know, success is, I feel like it's something that's subjective, but
For sure.
You know, everybody has their own version of success, but think about what success means to you. And
it may be, and man, I think what you're getting at, it may be as simple as having a certain level of comfort, being able to pay your bills without worrying about always being paycheck to paycheck, or missing a bill, or
or I want to spend more time with my family, or I want to, you know,
do something that I care about.
I want to lose weight, or whatever the case may be. Like, I feel like that's, you know, you just got to put yourself speak it into existence, and, you know, put yourself in a position to be able to do that.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I hope everyone takes your words to heart, man, because me knowing you, everyone doesn't know you the way that I know you. And even since you've been behind the scenes a lot, you're even different than a lot of the other guests that I've had on, that a lot of people don't have that kind of information or knowledge of you. But me knowing you and knowing what you've done for yourself, and what you've built for yourself, and the kind of money that you've brought in behind the scenes, and been able to do stuff that you love, and it to provide other opportunity and travel and happiness for yourself, they really need to take in what you're saying coming from you. I'm gonna love to see you out there more. I'm gonna love seeing you more out on your social media, and then doing your own thing. And like, if you get rolling with the podcast as planned and things like that, I think all that is gonna give people more insight of exactly what I'm saying, and they'll get to know you, and it'll speak more. It'll make the words that you're saying mean more to the people that hear them.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, like I know I told you in the beginning, I was, you know, still kind of like a little uncomfortable with being in front of the camera, but I think this is definitely a good first step to putting myself out there and really talking about what's on my mind. And, you know, I'm looking forward to see what the future holds. Man,
I think it's nothing but upside, man. And I think, of course, I always wish you nothing but the best. And I'm still jealous that you're going to Hawaii. And, I mean, that right there is a testament to come from nothing, or next to nothing, I should say, and to be taking trips to Hawaii and stuff and doing a podcast. I mean, it's like, I hate that it feels like bragging, but at the same time, man, it's like,
no, I feel like it's, I think, and, you know, like how you said earlier, it's not really about bragging. It's more about
gratitude, man.
Gratitude, and the fact that, hey, you know, you can do it too.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously it's a lot easier said than done, and it takes a lot of hard work, but putting yourself.
But hard work is free.
Right. And time is free.
That's one of the common things I hope we're giving to people.
You know, and it's, you know, but if you really, you know, ultimately, if you want to pursue something, then you should strive to pursue it. And it doesn't mean that you have to drop everything and run and start doing it, but you can, you know, find ways to make it happen.
Yeah, man. And before we get out here, I know we keep almost wrapping up and getting, but even that 48-hour fast that I just recently did, that was something that was a reminder to me that, like, how I was always posting and saying something recently about doing something difficult. I was thinking, like, that could be somebody's thing. Do a short fast, do a lengthy fast, whatever. Some small things like that set you up to maybe
small wins.
Yeah, better health or better weight management or better lifestyle. I mean, anything. Like you said, small wins is where it's at. And I think that hopefully we can keep giving people little things like this. And I think even doing the episode or something that we talk about, the hacks and the life and the money saving stuff, will be really beneficial to people too. But I think you'll be on for that, because I definitely think you're somebody that is in that same realm with me and Josh and a few other people that really made our money work for us. But with that being said, man, let's get out of here. Hope you have an awesome time in Hawaii. And same as always, man, much respect, and I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.